Hey guys, if you're watching this, you've probably had that sinking feeling where you're in the moment and then suddenly things don't go the way you want. Your body doesn't respond, and you start to wonder, am I broken? What if I can't fix this? Well, I get it because I've been through this myself. Let me tell you something. By the end of this video, I will have proved to you that your problem is fixable, and I'll tell you how to do it. When I was 27, I started flirting with a girl that I'd gone to high school with, and we started texting, and then we met up, and I went home with her for the first time, and we'd had a few drinks, but something was different, and I lost my erection for the very first time. And it was one of the most embarrassing experiences of my life. I didn't know what to do. I was so confused, and so I blamed it on the booze, and I put my clothes on and I left. And I never talked to her again after that. I started having that experience over and over and over again. And it took me a solid year to even admit to myself that something was wrong. But when I finally did, it was around I don't know, somewhere in the second year, I finally went to a doctor, and then the doctor sent me to a urologist. And both of them were pretty convinced that I had a physical problem because I didn't get any type of natural erections, and my genitals were actually shriveled even while I was flaccid. And so they recommended surgery. And so at that moment, I was so scared and so lonely, and I didn't, I felt hopeless. And I was so hopeless that I actually made the decision to take a contract in Afghanistan, partially just hoping that I might not come back. So if you've ever felt that level of hopeless, I just want to tell you, you're not broken. The problem is that when we feel hopeless, it's because we've convinced ourselves that there isn't a solution to what we're dealing with, that this state right now is our permanent state. But it turns out that isn't actually true. Hopelessness isn't who you are. It's just a feeling. And feelings are based on how we perceive our situation. When I was struggling with this, I'd convinced myself, for what even seemed like pretty good reasons, that my body had failed me and that this is how I was going to be forever. And nothing could change that for a long time. I want you to ask yourself something. Are there guys who have been in a similar situation to yours that were able to overcome it and have a normal sex life, to get regular erections and to be able to enjoy sex? And the answer is yes. You can go on the internet and you can read lots of those experiences. So if even one guy has done it, that means you can do it too. So why does it feel like you're stuck? Why does it feel like nothing you do improves the situation? Well, that's because right now your brain is stuck in a cycle that feeds on itself. So it feeds on the worry and the fear and then the past experiences that didn't go the way that you want. So here's how it starts. Maybe the first time you lost an erection, you were tired, or you had too much to drink, or you just weren't really in the mood, or you were still worrying about work. There's lots of reasons that you can lose an erection. I'll link a video up here about some of those. But instead of just brushing that experience off, your mind grabbed onto it. Now, every time you get in a sexual situation, that memory kicks in. You start anticipating failure. And when you anticipate failure, what happens? Anxiety takes over, and the thing that you're most afraid of happening, happens. Here's the cycle. You worry, your body tenses up, that kills any level of arousal you have, and then you lose your erection. Rinse and repeat. But good news, just like your brain learned this, it can unlearn it. That's called neuroplasticity. It's the ability of your brain to change to new conditions and new environments. No matter how long you've been stuck in this pattern, you can rewire it. Anxiety is a feeling, and it's a passing phase when you learn how to deal with it. No matter how long you've been struggling with this, it's reversible. I've helped clients who have had this problem for over 20 years. Anxiety is temporary. Your body already knows how to do the right thing. It's just been hijacked. And that's what has to be fixed. So one of my clients was a very logic-minded guy. He'd been struggling with this problem for over 10 years. He'd been to doctors. He'd had several small procedures. He'd been to therapists. He'd been to sex therapy. And those things actually just convinced him even more that it had to be a physical problem. So when I started working with him, he was very skeptical. And I understand why. I mean, I was really skeptical when I was struggling. And he was so analytical. He would bring me these medical articles about the most like obscure medical problems that he convinced himself that he had. And the thing that was really interesting is during the calls, it was just so clear how anxious he was. But he couldn't understand how anxiety could be causing this problem. So I asked him a simple question. I said, "How does your body feel during sex?" And so he thought about it and he said, "Well, my body's really tense and my breathing's shallow. And like, it's not very enjoyable because the whole time my mind is racing." And so I asked him to do a really simple exercise, and I'd like you to try it right now. So I had him take a deep breath, and then I asked him to tense every muscle that he can in his entire body, and then slowly breathe out and keep those muscles tensed. And now I want you to try and take a deep breath while your muscles are still clenched. It's hard, right? There's a lot of resistance. You can go ahead and let go now. When he was having sex, this is basically what was happening in his body. And when you're feeling anxious in the bedroom, this is what's happening to you too. Now relax your muscles and take another deep breath. Much easier, right? Might have actually even felt good. The moment my client realized what I was trying to show him, he had a light bulb moment. It was like that. He left that call understanding exactly what was happening, and 2 weeks later, he never lost another erection. So if you're not sure what to do next, I want you tonight before you go to bed, spend 5 minutes just taking deep breaths. Nice and slow, relaxed. Don't try to force it. Try and make them enjoyable. This is the first step to starting to break these cycles. But you also have to be honest with yourself. 5 minutes of breathing is not enough to fix this. Breaking free from this kind of problem, it takes effort and it takes action. If you keep doing what you're doing right now, you're going to end up getting the results you have right now. Change doesn't happen just because you hope for it. It happens because you learn and you take different actions that will lead to a different outcome. It happens when you decide to take control and change the things that are keeping you stuck. So what separates men from heal from this kind of problem to ones who stay stuck for the rest of their life? Effort. It's that simple. The ones who fix this problem and get back to having a normal sex life are the ones who commit to taking effort, even when things get uncomfortable, and even when they get difficult, and even when they don't know what to do. So if you want to go deeper, and if you want to actually fix this, I've created a space where men just like you can learn how to go from being stuck to having natural, healthy erections, so they can have a normal sex life. But you have to take the next step. No one is going to fix it for you. You have to decide you're ready to change. If you're ready to stop feeling stuck, the link is in the description below. The next step is yours.